Hey everybody, Eric here with Legacy of the Gun. We are at the 2026 Las Vegas Antique Arms Show, and I've got a really spectacular collection for you guys today. I'm with Kevin Doring. He has brought out one of the most amazing collections, not just of Colts. Of course, it's got to be a little bit more specialized. He's got these Sidehammer revolvers. They're not just any revolver. Everything that he has is rare, unusual, and just crazy in some way. I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to let Kevin tell you what he has. Kevin, tell me a little bit about your display, and then we're standing here next to this really, it's just, I'm not going to, what do we got here, Kevin?
Well, the display itself is all Colt Presentation Sidehammer revolver. So the Sidehammer revolver was a 28 caliber revolver, came out in 1855, made for personal protection, but all of these were presented by Samuel Colt to someone. They're
That's
all
amazing.
inscribed, they're all engraved. And yeah, I've just been collecting for a while, and this is the culmination of all of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there are a couple really interesting ones. And Eric, of course, pointed to this one first. This gun was presented by Samuel Colt to William Conant Church, who, for those of you who don't know, was the founder of the NRA. That was after the Civil War. This was presented to him just at the end of the Civil War. This is his original presidential commission, commissioning him as a captain in the U.S. Army, and it's signed by Abraham Lincoln and by Edwin Stanton. Okay,
That is so neat. That's Lincoln's actual signature you got on this command.
And the thing that's really rare,
Wow.
people who are into this tell me, is he signed it Abraham Lincoln. Almost 90% of Abraham Lincoln's signatures are A. Lincoln.
Really? That's interesting.
But he actually signed it Abraham, so it makes it kind of special.
You got his full name.
Plus having Edwin Stanton on there too was,
of course,
Secretary of War. So that's a really interesting piece, and it goes, of course, with the gun. And when I bought it at auction maybe 15 years ago, but when it came up for auction, I had to have it because I had the gun.
Of course you have to have it.
You know. So, but anyway, that's what's fun about collecting, guns like this. They're guns, but they're also pieces of history, and every one of these guns has an extensive history that I've researched, and we've talked about it before. But some of them are very interesting. Some of them are a little interesting, but they all have a history. And the nice thing about inscribed and presented guns is you know who they went to. So there's no question about who was carrying it around. You know?
And the fact that the guns in your collection, your curated collection here, are guns that came from Colt, that were presented from and by Colt, is just a second to none. I mean, because you see inscribed guns, that's not necessarily uncommon. These were tools back in the day, but these were presentation pieces. Correct. Some of these were used, some of these were shot and carried, but for the most part, a lot of these were gifts. They were an example of, hey, I'm somebody. You didn't just get a presentation piece from Colt if you were nobody. So Colt used these. What was Colt's goal in presenting a lot of these?
Well,
a lot of these political.
A lot of them were political. He presented several of them to, like I have one that he presented to the head of the commissary department for the U.S. Army. Well, obviously it's like, hey, here's a free gun. Maybe next 200,000 you order, you'll think about ordering them from me.
Yeah, of course.
And some of them are very interesting because they're inscribed to, like one of them is to Secretary of War under the Buchanan administration, John B. Floyd, who later was a Confederate general. But when he was under the Buchanan administration, Colt presented him with some arms, and they say on the backstrap, presented by the workmen at Colt's Armory, because if he said they were from Colonel Colt, they would consider it a bribe.
Exactly.
Since he was in charge of buying all the firearms.
He knew his way around
for the thing. And he did buy a lot of firearms and ship them south right before the Civil War, because he was from Virginia.
Yeah.
But little things like that. Some of them were used for promotional things like that, giving them to people who were in charge of purchasing. Some of them were given to personal friends. Some of them were given to neighbors.
Prizes.
And some of them were given to people that did things for Colt. For instance, he gave one to the guy who did all the sculptures at his mansion.
Oh,
he gave one to the guy who did all the woodwork inside his house when it was being built. So a wide variety.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the Sidehammer pistols are just really beautiful. Gustav Jung said they were his favorite pistol to engrave.
Really?
He thought that his engraving really highlighted them, so he enjoyed it.
Well, speaking of tremendous pistols, I saw another one down here at the end.
Absolutely.
Can we go check that one out?
Sure. Let's go check it out.
All right, so we're down here at the other end of the display, and this is a Charter Oak gun. Now, I've heard of the Charter Oak, and for those of us, watching here, tell us a little bit about the Charter Oak and what's the significance of this gun? What's the painting? You've got all kinds of really neat stuff.
The Charter Oak was the state tree of Connecticut.
Okay.
And the story was that back in the 1600s, the King of England was going to revoke their charter because they were being a little rambunctious and weren't following his orders. So he was going to pull the governor, he was going to take the charter of the state and return it to a royal colony that he was in charge of. Well, the people of Connecticut didn't like that, so the king sent a bunch of soldiers to come collect the charter, because that's the way it worked. You know, the charter was the legal document that made Connecticut a royal territory. So they went to pick up the charter, and when they showed up at what was considered the State House at the time, or the Colony House, all of a sudden, though, candles blew out. Somebody grabbed the charter, jumped out a window, and they ran, and the soldiers went after them, but they couldn't catch them. Anyway, the person took the charter and put it in the hollow of this tree. There was a little opening in the tree. They hid it in there, and they kept it in there for a couple of years. And the king couldn't find the charter, so he couldn't revoke it. He gets deposed. Another guy comes in, and they say, "Don't worry about it. Just keep the charter." And so they consider the charter oak as the tree that saved the state of Connecticut's independence, if you will.
So the tree was known for an act of defiance, and it meant a lot to the people in the community.
Absolutely, and even the Native Americans who were there beforehand worshipped the tree, because it was freaking huge. I mean, it's a huge tree, and it blew over in a storm in 1856. So everybody was distraught that the state tree had blown over a storm. So Colonel Colt bought some wood from the guy, this guy named Stewart, who owned the tree, and he used it to make grips for a very select number of guns, maybe 10 guns. And they're called the Charter Oak guns now. And the key was that the grips were made from the wood from this famous tree. He gave them to his top salespeople around the country that he called his allies, and he gave a couple more to special presentations, but there's only maybe 10 or 12 in existence, and this is one of them. So that's also an original oil painting of the Charter Oak. It's not, I don't think it's from the 1850s, it's a much later date, but that was what the Charter Oak looked like. And actually down in the bottom of the painting there, that little white thing is the dome of Colt's Armory.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, so that's how close it was.
Been within
it
view.
was immediately adjacent to Colt's property.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's a really neat,
it was funny. The city of Hartford commissioned a lot of furniture to be made from the wood, and then they balked and didn't want to pay the guy.
Yeah.
So Colt bought it all.
Yeah.
You know, and
he knew what he was doing.
And he had a lot of stuff in his house made from the furniture.
Really?
So it's a famous tree. And in Connecticut, if you look at the Connecticut State Quarter, the Charter Oak's on the back of that quarter. That's what they decided to put on the back of the quarter. So it's an interesting tree. The gun is interesting because there are only 5 or 6 of these given out. 3 of them are in museums, and we'll never see them.
Of course.
But this is one of the ones that's in private hands.
That's so.
Luckily, it's in my private hands. So that's good.
That's so historically significant, and that's just absolutely tremendous. We love this kind of stuff. Kevin, thank you so much.
No problem, man. Anytime, Eric.
For sharing this with us. You have an absolutely spectacular display. I hear that you're going to be displaying this at the 2025 NRA annual meetings and exhibits.
The 2026.
2026, yeah. We've already switched over.
In April, yeah. We'll be in Houston displaying it, and hopefully everybody will enjoy it and learn a lot from it.
Oh, I have no doubts about it. So thank you again so much.
No problem.
Guys, thank you for watching. If this is the kind of stuff that you love, check us out, legacyofthegun.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the good stuff. Check out our other videos, just some absolutely fantastic, rare, unique, historical stuff. And we'll see you guys in the next video.